Geoff Mosher, FanRag Sports, covers the Eagles. He joins us now, but let's find out a couple of things that we now know about the Eagles following that win over the Redskins on Monday night. This is a team that, hey, a lot of people had pegged them as the best team going into that game. They could have easily stubbed their toe on primetime television against a team that really needed that game, Geoff. So give us some of the things that you learned about the Eagles winning that game on Monday night.
Well, I think one thing, guys, that you really took from that game is that, and this is going to be really important going forward, you lose Jordan Hicks really early. I think on the first series, you then lose Jason Peters. Pulavati Vaitai has to come in, play left tackle. And yet, at the end of the day, like they have done week 1, week 2, week 3 with all the guys that they've lost, whether it's Darby, whether it's, Sproles, whether it was Cox for 2 games, Smallwood for a little bit, at the end of the day, they figure out a way to win. And a lot of that, to me, is Carson Wentz just being the ultimate compensator. I talk a lot about how elite quarterback play in the NFL can cover up your warts and your blemishes. There's so many examples of it. Obviously, Andrew Luck winning 11 games each of his first 3 years with that Colts team that really wasn't very talented around him. Just shows you what a quarterback who plays at the MVP level right today, guys. I mean, you'd have to say Carson Wentz is the MVP of the league.
Yeah, a lot of people are going down that road right now. 17 touchdowns, he leads the league, Geoff. Let me ask you about the offense, because it is Wentz, but who is it predicated on? Is there a guy in this offense, or is that the reason why this offense has been so successful, is that they don't really have that one guy? It's a bunch of guys.
Yeah, if you really look, Mike, about the essence of the West Coast offense, even when Andy Reid was here, Donovan, Andy together, that whole offense was a lot like that. One day it's one receiver, the other day it's another receiver. The offense gradually morphed into a Brian Westbrook-centric offense, but there was a 2-3 year span where L.J. Smith was averaging 55, 60 catches. It was always a balanced spread around offense. That makes it very difficult to defend. Certainly defensive coordinators go in saying we need to stop Zach Ertz, we need to make sure we have a body and a lot of hands, if you look at last game, on Alshon Jeffrey. But they are, and I think this, again, goes back to the quarterback and his pre-snap, his unique understanding of coverages for a guy who's only played 23 games. I mean, he sees the entire field. He sees where the weaknesses are. I'll give you a really quick example. If you go back to the Aguilar touchdown, Mike, they're not no huddle the entire drive, okay? What happens is they convert that third down with Corey Clement. If you remember, it's a 3rd and 6 run, and the Redskins had Junior Gillette on the field. He's one of their pass rushers, right? So it's a 3rd and 6 run. They convert it, get first down. Gillette goes off the field. So now Preston Smith is already out of the game with an injury, and the Redskins are down 2 of their 3 best pass rushers. So what does Carson do? He kind of hurries it up. He throws a 10 to 12-yard slant to Zach Ertz, puts him right at the 10-yard line, and he hurries it up again, does not let the Redskins get Gillette back on the field, because a lot of teams like to get that pass rush going once you get closer to the end zone and try to force the issue and take advantage of no space and try to get a turnover there. And certainly the Redskins knew they needed to get the ball back and stop the Eagles from scoring, but because Carson went hurry up there and didn't let the Redskins substitute and get Gillette back on the field, Carson knew in his mind that the only pass rusher on the field for the Redskins at that point was Kerrigan, so they're not likely to blitz and just throw guys who can't rush the passer at him. So he gets a 4-man rush, and he knows that Swearinger, who they've been picking on all game, is on Aguilar, and boom, touchdown. So you see the touchdown to Aguilar, and you see him kind of changing plays at scrimmage and all that. So you know there's something smart in it. But if you go back and watch how that sequence develops and why he goes no huddle here, that's all Monday through Saturday preparation and just having a great feel for the game. That's what makes him playing right now at an MVP level.
Geoff Mosher with us. Hey, Moshe, losing Jason Peters, that obviously hurts for the offense, but you think that losing Jordan Hicks may be worse. Why is that?
Well, I do, Pete, and it's not that I don't think, it's a bad loss of Jason Peters. I certainly think losing Peters hurts the offense and losing Hicks hurts the defense. I just think that right now you can scheme around the loss of Peters a little bit better. You can do a lot of, they've certainly done a lot of read option plays anyway, or run pass options that are quick passing game stuff. Sometimes they leave that defender unblocked anyway. You can put a tight end on that side. You can put a running back. You can chip. It's going to hurt the offense, but I do think Hicks, he's harder to replace. He's harder to scheme around. Right now you have to throw Michael Kendricks in there, and as well as Michael Kendricks has played, we've kind of seen him, when he has to play too much, we've seen him get exploited. And you're going to have Joe Walker on the field whenever they do go into their base 3 linebacker formation. He's a kid, man. He's barely even played other than special teams. And in fact, you saw against Washington, they were getting beat across the middle a lot. And if you go look at Washington's receiving stats, their top 3 receivers were Vernon Davis, were Jordan Reed, and were Chris Thompson. Those 3 guys accounted for about 150 of the 300 yards. That's 50% right there. And you saw Jim Schwartz kind of scrap the whole Joe Walker thing and go with a dime formation, right? He brought in 6 D-backs, and he basically had Malcolm Jenkins and Corey Graham playing the 2 outside linebacker spots to make up for no Kendricks and no Hicks. So I just think that you look, what makes the Eagles defense good so far? They've been great against the run, which obviously Hicks has a big hand in, and also they've been really good on third down, which Hicks is your best coverage linebacker. I mean, he covers running backs, he covers tight ends, he gets everybody situated. So I think the widespread impact of his loss is worse for the defense than Peters' loss is for the offense. It's not good either way. I'm not trying to paint one's fine and the other is catastrophic. They're both bad, but I do think defensively it's going to hurt more.
And that's why I love having you on, Geoff, because I think I tweeted out, and I did look at the snaps, and I saw that the tight end position was a place that the Redskins were exploiting there. I added them up, the tight ends only. That was 13 out of the 30 completions went to the tight ends. You mix in Chris Thompson, and then what you just taught me there, and I appreciate you teaching me, no relation Chris Thompson, although I have a brother named Chris. What you taught me there is the fact that Joe Walker, like I was putting too much of that on... Help me, Mike Gill. Who did I put my duds?
Najee Good.
Najee Good.
West Virginia.
Here's the follow-up then to that, Geoff. What's the one way they could compensate then for the loss of Peters and Hicks and still have a special season?
Well, to that point, by the way, Pete, it's not like Najee Good was out there playing like Brian Urlacher either. You were correct. That's why he basically had Jenkins and Corey Graham playing linebacker roles, because the other 2 linebackers outside of Bradham weren't cutting it. Here's the one thing that you might see a change, and I'm kind of spitballing here. I don't know, but if they can get Ronald Darby back, I think what that enables Jim to do is play schematically a little different. What you've seen so far out of the cornerbacks is a ton of off coverage. I mean, you've got 2 corners who run a 4-6 out there right now without Darby. You've got Jalen Mills and you've got Rasul Douglas, right? And both of those guys, you guys have seen it. They're given 8 to 10 yards of cushion because they're trying to keep everything in front of them. And the pass rush is doing a nice job of getting quarterbacks to get rid of the ball quickly. So there have been a lot of completed passes against the Eagles this year. They've given up a decent amount of passing yards, but all of it has been in front of the corners, and all of it is around the middle of the field, which is why I say Jordan Hicks is so important, because he does such a great job of being fundamental and making those tackles. Perhaps that with Ronald Darby back, Jim can scheme it up a little differently, play a little more press coverage, on Darby's side, and then maybe because of that, quarterbacks will try to look to exploit it, and we'll see what happens. If Darby can kind of, prove that he's up to the challenge and break up those passes or not give up those passes, then it'll be a good thing for the Eagles. But basically, there's nothing they can do other than just make sure that they're fundamentally sound in their tackles and their keys and their reads, and that Nigel Bradham with the helmet mic now is as adept intellectually and from a leadership standpoint as Jordan Hicks has been.
That was my follow-up, but I know we're running out of time, was who wears the helmet mic, because I know, what was it, the Carolina game, Geoff, where they had, like, the helmet mic was going from helmet to helmet to helmet as they were trying to figure out who was going to have it?
Yeah, something like that. It's got to be in Bradham. Bradham's going to be your only 3-down linebacker, I would think. And Kendricks, they don't like to have him have that responsibility, so I'm pretty sure it's going to go to Bradham. All
right, Geoff Mosher at, of course, FanRag Sports. Check out his stuff on the Eagles as they get ready for this week against San Francisco. And obviously, right here on the Sports Bash, he talks to us on Thursdays on 97.3 ESPN, at Geoff Mosher NFL on Twitter. Thanks, Moshe.
Thanks, guys. Talk to you next week.